Hey guys, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. Welcome to Essential Issues Weekly, where I talk about DC Comics. Let's see, 1 week after their release on the... I did change the script. One week after their release on the Ultra tier of the DC Universe Infinite subscription service. Basically, in each installment, I pick an assortment of comics to talk about as a DC fan and also explore what, if anything, they have to say about the essential issues of real life. Now, warning, full spoilers for everything I talk about, so be aware, this is your first and only warning that many spoilers lie ahead. Well, maybe not many spoilers, because I'm only talking about one book this time. As I look at the releases that came out last week on the Ultra tier, there's the Unstoppable Doom Patrol #1, Action Comics 1053, which in a previous Essential Issues Weekly I already said that I'm not going to be following until there's a creative change going on there. I'm just not interested in what they're doing there. I did peek a little bit into Waller versus Wildstorm #1, but it's DC's Black Label. It doesn't have the Dawn of DC branding. That doesn't mean it's not that I'm only reading Dawn of DC, but those two things combined, I'm like, well, is it part of DC's continuity? It's a story that's set in the 80s during the Cold War with a young Amanda Waller, and yet Lois Lane is also in it, and I'm like, I'm getting confused about the timetable here. You know, is this in continuity or not? Because I can understand Waller maybe being a character that's in her 50s or 60s, but is that how old we're supposed to think Lois Lane is today, or something close to that? I don't know. I don't get that impression. So anyway, I'm just like, well, if it's not part of the main DC continuity, it's not a priority, at least for me right now, so I skipped it. And the other things like Blue Beetle Graduation Day, I'm coming in late on that, so maybe I'll read it when it's done. It's on issue 5 out of 6. Lazarus Planet, I'm done with that stuff. There's still some stragglers hanging on. I thought that was supposed to be an introduction to Dawn of DC, but it's kind of serving in a bit of an overlap capacity. Detective Comics, I'm also waiting for a new story arc to begin. So there really was just this time the Unstoppable Doom Patrol that I felt like I was in a position to jump on board and really give a good try to. And so I did that, and I don't think this book is really going to be for me. It doesn't serve as a great introduction to the Doom Patrol. It seems to assume in its writing a knowledge of the team and its specific team members already, and kind of their backstories and whatnot, and also a knowledge of MetaGen, which is some kind of corporation that looks like it's going to be serving as their opposing faction, if you will. So it seems to assume a knowledge of all these things, or just a willingness to kind of roll with it. You know, comic book's gonna comic book and just whatever. And I find that surprising given the Dawn of DC branding. Now, of course, you could say, well, it's just another branding gimmick. They're trying to get people on board. Yes, but they could have called it something else, like Explosion, DC Explosion, or something like that. But to call it Dawn of DC really suggests to me, and I think some of the marketing has as well, suggests to me a major new starting point, kind of like the New 52 or Rebirth or something like that. And so far, I'm just not getting the impression that it's really about onboarding readers in the same way that New 52 and Rebirth had been. It also features the villain Monsieur Mala and the Brain, who go together as a pair, but the Brain seemingly dies at the end of this story at the foot of Monsieur Mala, who is also kind of like his lover. I think in recent years they've kind of retconned that there's a gay relationship going on between those characters. Anyway, that's been a long-standing relationship for, I want to say, for at least couple decades. I'm not really familiar with the characters. I find talking monkeys and apes and stuff silly. I don't find them interesting or threatening as villains, and so I tend to avoid those kinds of stories. But I've known about their relationship, and so to see that status quo change, that seems like a big deal. And the way his brain seemingly gets stomped, I don't know if they're going to be undoing that anytime soon. The climax of the story really kind of zeroes in on what I think is the main premise of the book. At the climax, the Doom Patrol is confronting a person who's been mutated by the Lazarus Rain's event from Lazarus Planet. And that seems like that might be something that's kind of a regular part of what the Doom Patrol is going to be about for a while, sort of a freak of the month formula. That's a little bit of an impression I get. It's not necessarily going to be the case, but we'll see. But anyway, in confronting this giant mutated person, creature, whatever, Robot Man comes up and really tries to kind of talk him down from what he's about to do, which is basically to eat one of the metagen troopers or something like that. And Robot Man really is trying to talk him down, says, you want to make everyone hurt, feel all the pain you've been living with for too long. I get it. I can't know your pain, but I know mine. That pain made me mean. I hurt people too, and I regretted it. I was in a car wreck so bad that it left me as nothing more than a brain in this metal body, feeling nothing but my own despair. And then in kind of what's intended to be a close-up moment that actually works better as a close-up moment if you're doing frame-by-frame reading through the DC Universe Infinite app. Otherwise, it's mostly a fairly small frame on a larger page. But face-to-face now with this mutated creature person, Robot Man says, but I finally found a place where I belonged. I found other people who were also learning to handle their own pain. That's a kind of a key phrase maybe I'll come back to in a second. People I eventually learned to call a family. So again, we got this idea of found family. People in pain finding families together that, that they connect with and stay bonded with. One of his teammates says, it's working. Robot Man continues, Now we give other people like us, people like you, the same chance to heal their own pain and maybe teach them to help others do the same. So this seems to be kind of a moment that's meant to say this is what this book is going to be about. Them going on adventures and running into mutated misfits and stuff like that, maybe that are such because of the Lazarus Rains, maybe not. But the idea is they're going to try and kind of have these talk them down moments, maybe, where they invite them to kind of join them on their journey of being together and healing from their pain. And I think that's a really interesting premise. I think that that is the central point of many found families today, and that's been the case for a long time. But the question in my mind is, okay, so how do you help people heal their own pain? What is the means of doing that? And I think seeing how that plays out on a case-by-case basis, seeing if there's any kind of recurring idea or theme or element that serves as the thing that heals the pain, I think those kinds of things could end up saying a lot about the worldview of the writer of this book. But I am probably not going to stick around to find out. I like tragic outcast heroes, but the writing style and kind of the time they're giving to different types of moments says to me that this is going to be a book mostly focused on the rock'em sock'em, the action and the quipping and stuff like that, not really giving the time that I want to emotional character moments. This is really, this moment that I just shared is not indicative of what the whole book feels like, at least not to me. A lot of it is just kind of rock'em sock'em and just banter during action. And I would be more than content, in fact, I'd actually prefer if they had a little less action and leaned more into some of these vulnerable character moments. But anyway, yeah, so a shorter week this week. I only had one book to make comments on, but I guess those are all of my thoughts on comic books for now. As always, I'd love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Remember to check out christiangeekcentral.com for a ton more content. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.